Recording. Good evening, everybody. For those of you who are new, both in person and on Zoom, my name is Jared Chabline, and I am the chair and one of the original founders of the Lower Shore Progressive Caucus. I want to start by first wishing everyone a happy new year and a happy election year. Everyone knows we have a pretty big election coming up here in just a few short months. And I want to thank you all for taking the time out of your busy week right after a holiday to come join us for this town hall. The other thing I want to do in our welcoming real fast is I want to highlight a couple of elected officials that we have in the room. I see that we have one of our elected progressives on the Wacomico County Council, Council Member Josh Hastings, with us tonight. Welcome, Josh, and thank you for your continued service to Wacomico County and our movement.
Ravens.
We'll disagree on that
point. That was for Josh.
I don't believe I see any other elected officials, so I want to just highlight Councilmember Hastings and again thank him for attending tonight and everything that he does. The other thing I want to highlight before we get started, because we are waiting for the congressman who's running a few minutes behind, is just to give some information on our monthly meetings. So as always, our monthly meetings are the first Thursday of the month. We still are doing hybrid meetings, as you know, here at the UU Fellowship here in Salisbury. It's a great space. If you haven't been here, come check it out. Come join us on Thursday, first Thursday of the night. And then, of course, as always, you can join us on Zoom. I will be sending out the Zoom link both in email and on social media a little later this week. So like last year, when you register, that Zoom link you get will be your personalized Zoom link for the entire year. So you can just, take that link that you get, put it in your calendar, put it somewhere safe where you'll find it. You use that link to join our meeting every single month. The reason we do that is for security purposes. We did have one Zoom bombing incident last year. We never want to have that happen again. So that is why we make sure people register, have a Zoom link, and we can track, who it is that are attending our meetings. It sucks that we have to do that, but it's something that we have to do. With that said, I will also mention that we will be getting back into our normal routine of treasurer's reports and committee reports next month. I did not let our members of leadership know, nor our treasurer Leonard, who's here, that they would be giving a report tonight. So I don't want to put them on the spot and throw them to the wolves metaphorically. So all that information will be given to you all next month at our February monthly meeting. Finally, I want to go ahead and explain the rules of tonight's town hall. So as always, LSPC Town Halls are a process in our endorsement, a part of our endorsement process. So every candidate has to fill out a questionnaire, agree with 75% of our platform, which is decided on by our electoral committee. If you want to join our electoral committee, just let Ryan know in the chat, or let me know at the end of the meeting, and we can get you more information. And then attend a town hall like tonight. The first 15 minutes, Congressman Trone or whoever is speaking at the town hall will have the opportunity to kind of make their pitch. Here's who I am, here's why I'm running, here's why you should vote for me. And then the remainder of the meeting will be questions from you all. We will be alternating both questions in person and questions online. So if you have a question in person, if you could just raise your hand and wait to be called on. If you have a question online, please just raise your hand on Zoom, and I'll have Ryan unmute you to ask your question. I do just ask, let's make sure that we are showing the quorum, we are being respectful. If anyone asks a disrespectful question or is being disrespectful in any way, we'll either mute you online or, we'll ask the congressman not that. We'll just move on from the question. I don't think that's going to be an issue. That's never really been an issue, but I do want to make sure we are having folks come down, that we can ask hard questions while still having respect and decorum. With that is everything that I had. I thought they walked outside because the congressman is.
I have one thing.
Yes.
Restrooms are located through that door and to your right.
There's also food in the back and drink. So there is, we don't want the leftovers, so please grab your food, grab the drink. We don't want anything left over at the end of tonight. The other thing is, I do want to highlight John just for a second, so I'm going to put you on the spot, but tonight he did
I
tell.
didn't do it and I wasn't there when it broke.
My kind of person.
He did let me know tonight that he is going to be retiring from his position here at the UU Church after many years of great service. So I just wanted to highlight and thank you for everything that you've done for not only the UU, the LSPC, and all the work you've done in the community. So congratulations on upcoming retirement, and hope to still see you around. You're always welcome here at the LSPC.
It gives me an opportunity to come here and say whatever I think.
Yeah.
Hey, Jared, I would suggest moving a little closer this way because you're pretty echoey and like muffled. It's kind of hard to make out what you're saying a little bit. Yeah, I would say get closer to the computer and that might help. I don't think the microphone is doing you any favors.
All right, how about now? Can you hear me?
Talk some more.
Outside?
That's a little better, I think. Yeah, that's a little better, I think.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, while we are waiting, just so I guess I can give a little bit of a makeshift treasurer's report. So looking at the account that we have that I just pulled up on our phone, our account currently has $4,423.93 in it. I want to once again thank everyone. There have been letters that have gone out, given the postal service. I have no idea if you all have got them or not yet. Thanking everyone who donated to our organization this past year. I think I can speak for everyone on leadership when I say we truly appreciate all your support. That's what allows us to host events like this, to door knock, to do mailers, to do text banks, to do everything that we can do as an organization. This past year, we celebrated having over 30 elected progressives here on the lower shore, from everything from school board all the way up to, state senate, governor, Congress. And that is really a testament to all of you that make this movement happen. We've also had some other big 2 minutes, wonderful. We've also had some other big victories happen this year. I'm sure most of you have seen. One of the biggest projects we've worked on as an organization since our founding, the Fight for 15. As of January 1st, the minimum wage here in the state of Maryland is now $15 an hour. It is something that we started working on in 2017, and that fight has finally come to an end. So we're still going to continue to advocate for livable wages. The one thing that unfortunately did not happen was we were trying to get the wage indexed to inflation. So instead of, having to raise our minimum wage $7, $8 every 10 years, and just going up a couple cents every year due to inflation, making sure people their wages are keeping up with the standard of living, making sure that people can continue to afford to support local businesses, and things of that nature. The other thing is in February, actually right before our monthly meeting, is a pretty big anniversary. So February 6th of every year, thankfully it's not January 6th, it's February 6th, is the anniversary of the founding of the Lower Shore Progressive Caucus. February will mark 7 years since the founding. So there will be a big event coming up to celebrate our founding. More information will be coming towards the end of the month. But I do want to go ahead and be the first to thank you all. This organization would not be possible without the support of the people at home, without you all in the crowd. Our movement is based on people from all over the lower shore. So truly appreciate everything that you all have done to make this movement and this organization what it is. Man, that's a long 2 minutes.
It's 2 minutes of conversation.
Oh, well, yeah. Yeah, I guess, does anyone have any questions on everything I just threw at you all? I know I just threw a million things at you all at once.
When's the next LSPC?
Yes, the next LSPC meeting will be, thank you, Sydney.
Yes.
The next LSPC meeting will be the first Thursday of February, which will be February the 1st at 6:30, both on Zoom or right here at the UU Fellowship, unless John throws me out. It could happen.
Nope. Love you too well.
Oh, well, there we go.
Sorry.
That counts as a contract. And then, yes, the other thing, the legislative session begins on the 10th, Maryland 2024 legislative session. We will actively be working on bills on everything from healthcare to housing to LGBTQ rights to environmental to, if you can think of it in the progressive movement, probably be doing something on it. We're going to be working to getting up in Annapolis to the lobby days, as well as we'll be sending out information on how we can contact our legislators, both here on the shore as well as key folks on the western shore to getting our bills passed. I can't tell you how much when we do our email campaigns or other campaigns that I'll be talking to delegates or state senators and be like, yeah, it's been really helpful to have people on the Eastern Shore reach out, because if people on the Eastern Shore are pushing that for these things, it's really hard for a Democrat or Montgomery County to be against something that people on the conservative Eastern Shore for. So it definitely does make a difference. I don't know if it was Josh who told me this. I feel like this is something that Josh would tell me, but on average, it takes about 20 emails or calls to get a legislator to change their mind on a piece of legislation. It is not like they are not used to hearing from people. So even something as clicking a link and sending an email or making a brief call really does make a difference in terms of getting people to, vote yes on raising the minimum wage or feeling pressure from lobbying groups and voting no. People start calling them, especially in an area like ours where it is so far away to get there. It really means a lot when people are reaching out. You good?
Yeah, he's coming.
Oh, wonderful. For folks at home, the congressman is walking in now. That's why I'm pausing. So thank you for bearing with me as I ramble. Yeah, pretty much.
Well done. Good rambling.
Substantive rant.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I've been known to rant, so.
Yes.
Perfect. Welcome, Congressman. Without further ado, sorry to put you on the spot when you just come in. I'm going to go ahead and introduce you. So Congressman David Trone's journey exemplifies the quintessential American dream. Originating from humble beginnings in Cheverly, Maryland, David was born to a teacher, a mother who was a teacher, and a father who worked as a salesman for Trans World Airlines. The relocation from a working farm near Maryland's Pennsylvania border when David was 11 years old. Despite the lack of indoor plumbing and their father's inexperience in farming, David and his brothers shouldered significant responsibilities, managing tasks like egg collections and maintaining animal pens. David's early life was marked by financial struggles, in his family losing their farm to bankruptcy. This experience shaped his resilient character. He worked diligently, financing his education through loans and achieving an MBA through the Wharton School of Business. It is here that he met his future wife, June, who he has shared his academic journey with. In Congress, Congressman Trone has been a formidable advocate for progressive causes, playing a key role in enacting the Inflation Reduction Act, a landmark in U.S. climate legislation. He has also passionately fought against addiction and mental health crises, establishing the bipartisan Mental Health and Substance Use Disorder Task Force. This 140-member coalition successfully passed 26 bills addressing the overdose crisis. Congressman Trone also leads the Second Chance Task Force, focusing on policy reform for better reentry for outcoming for ex-offenders, including implementing the First Step Act and advocating for fair hiring practices. Dedicated to service with integrity, David has consistently prioritized people over politics, refusing donations from PACs, lobbyists, and corporations. Since his election in 2018, he has focused on pressing mail-in issues like addiction, criminal justice reform, mental health, medical research, and education. It is my pleasure to introduce Congressman and candidate for mail-in Senate, David Trone.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
And after that introduction, I don't think I need to say anymore. We covered it all. We're done. Let's head home. I thought I'd talk about 15 minutes and then answer Q&A and get all your questions answered, whatever you've got. Delighted to answer questions. I love to answer questions. And folks out here in Eastern Shore, it's kind of a lot like where I grew up. And when I was born in Cheverly in Prince George's County, and my mom was a public school teacher, we grew up in Adams County, Pennsylvania, and that is very, very rural. My town had less than 800 people in it. One single light, one grocery store, one hardware store, one drug store, no gas station. And so it was a small town environment. We lived about 5 miles outside of town on a 200-acre chicken and hog farm. So I know about chickens, a lot about chickens, matter of fact. We went over to Purdue today to hear some of their concerns and things that they're concerned about. And, made a lot of sense, things that they told us that are challenges. So in those rural areas, it's often difficult to get some attention, get folks paying attention to you and what your needs are and what your concerns are. And I found that same issue when I went to Congress. My district is Western Maryland. It's not at all like the Eastern Shore, except in one area. We don't have a lot of things that they have in the bigger counties, metropolitan counties, Montgomery, Prince George, Baltimore County, etc. And we struggle in Western Maryland with a shortage of specialists for dentistry, for psychiatry, for doctors and, hospitals, et cetera, all those things that, we can't get often in the Eastern Shore, we also can't get in Western Maryland, and we couldn't get in Adams County, Pennsylvania, where I grew up, where apple orchards were the main thing. That was the biggest deal. But long time ago, we actually, as you mentioned, my mom was from Cambridge, so not too far from here. And she grew up there with her family. She's actually buried here, just outside of Cambridge with her whole family. And I learned to fish in the Choptank River. My mother, here's a good story. She was actually Miss Choptank. So who would have believed it? You would not believe it. But anyway, she and my dad met at the University of Maryland. My dad fought in World War II. He was on an aircraft carrier in the Pacific for a couple of years. And we worked hard to support veterans always throughout our career in Congress, very much supportive of veterans. And because of the GI Bill, and only because of the GI Bill, did my dad get a chance to go to college. Otherwise, no one in his family had ever gone to college. And at University of Maryland, where he went to school, he met my mother. And we then moved after they graduated to Hyattsville, and she taught school in Greenbelt. So from there, we ended up on a farm in Pennsylvania years later. And I learned a value of work ethic. We put in a lot of work, and we got paid $1.80 an hour. I also learned about low wages. And then low wages is struggle. And but we learned a tremendous work ethic, and you learn that you got to pay your dues. If you work harder than the next guy, you can often win. But unfortunately, that hard work was destroyed because my dad was an abusive alcoholic. So I understand that disease inside out, up front and close. My mom left after a while and moved back to Cambridge. Took my younger sister with her, and they left. They left me there. I'm the oldest with two siblings below me, to try and deal with it. It wasn't very pleasant. There's a lot of verbal, physical violence. So I understand what that's about, that disease, and the problems my dad had and suffered. And I'm sure everybody in this audience has had similar problems. It's you know, a challenge. But bottom line is, unfortunately, we did not work our way through it. And we went bankrupt. My father's farm went bankrupt. The banks came in, took the farm, took our house, took our job, took everything. And I went off, supported my mom and the younger kids, and became an egg broker. I was a telephone guy, went back to graduate school, took out student loans, and got an MBA at the Wharton School, as you mentioned. Met my wife there, who's an engineer, who also got an MBA and had nice student loans too. And those were days you could pay your student loans off now. Can't do that anymore. I mean, you know, that's why we have to change the construct of the education system so folks can go to college, get a good education, work out the job, and not be saddled with student loans. So, you know, we support President Biden on his efforts to eliminate all student loan debt. And because many times the government did hold up our part of the bargain. Our part of the bargain was to supervise those schools and colleges. People got an education that they could then turn into a job and a diploma. But instead, we allowed colleges to prey on students. And so many students, hundreds of thousands, graduate without diplomas from sham schools and without jobs, and come out with one thing: debt. And that the government failed, and we need to go back and rectify that and eliminate that. And just say, we didn't get it right. And so President Biden's worked hard on that. The courts have blocked him, and Republicans have made it very difficult. But that's another story. I just want to touch on that. But so from while I was at the School of Business, Wharton School of Business, I started a small store. Long story short, that store selling beer and soda, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. No wine, no spirits, just beer and soda. One good idea: sell things cheap. That was it. That was my best idea. And it worked. And the business took off, and people liked buying things cheap because my competitors were all friends. What happens when friends are all competitors? They're not really competitors. Yeah, they're not competing. And they all charge a lot higher prices. So I was able to take a lot of the market because our prices were really good prices. So that concept I took 3-4 decades later. My company is now Total Wine and More. We operate in 28 states. We're the largest retailer in the United States of wine. We're the largest retailer in the United States of spirits. And we have 12,000 team members across the United States. And so we're bigger than Costco, bigger than Kroger. So what that shows is you can start with zero, and you can do well. But that work ethic that I learned from my dad and my mom, really, my mother, really paid off. And the willingness to try things, which my dad was good at. He didn't mind trying stuff. He just didn't follow through on it. He forgot the follow through part. And, you know, but I learned that from him, and I give him credit for that. And long story short, 3-4 years later, my dad hit rock bottom. He had remarried a much younger woman. I got him into the 28-day program, and he came out, and he came back and worked for me and stayed sober. And he and I've been to, I can't count how many AA meetings together. And he's been dead about 10 years of Alzheimer's, but he worked for me for almost 30 years. So, you know, I value family, and we all value family. It's really important. But even though sometimes family creates pain, you still got to kind of move forward and forgive and try and move on. So that's, you know, long story short. With that company, Total Wine and More, we grew successful and became profitable. We did great. The company is still going. I left the company, and we have a CEO that runs everything and a professional team that runs the business. And I moved into politics. And the reason I came into politics is because it's an opportunity to do public service. And public service is the key, not politics. I hate that word. Public service, that's what we should be here for. Serve, then go home. That's why things like term limits I support. People can serve, do what you can, and then move on with your life. So I went into public service to figure out ways we can expand our philanthropy. So we've done a lot of philanthropy over the years. In the last 5 years, we've given literally over $100 million away in the last 5 years through our foundations and the company. It's in areas like addiction, it's in areas like mental illness, it's in areas on medical research, cancer research. I'm a cancer survivor, 6 years, so every day is a lot here, I'm sure also. Every day is a great day, a great day we're here. And so, that's one reason why, we appreciate what we have. And that we can make a difference. And we've been given, by God, certain advantages. And that success we've had was luck, hard work, right place, right time. And now we have a chance to do things and help folks in different areas. But Total Wine, we try to do things very progressively. We're a very progressive employer. We banned the box almost 25 years ago. Ban the box means we quit asking the folks that have been arrested. Quit asking that. Then you can hire folks, have a chance to get hired, versus you never have a chance. So that was really important. The last 7 years, we've hired over 1,400 returning citizens. Folks that made a mistake. Anybody here had made one yet? I made plenty, but they off because they're black and brown. And 82% of the folks incarcerated are black. You can't say that is an inherently systemically racist system. That doesn't happen by just chance. That happens because racism is embedded in the system, embedded. So that's what we did many, many years ago, and we've continued that practice. We also put in partner benefits, the LGBTQ community. When a woman came to me 20, 25 years ago and said, hey, my partner, she can't get on plan. I said, well, why not? Well, we can't be married. I said, well, I can see if I can fix that. I went to HR, and I own the company. I said, well, let's change this. And they said, okay. I said, how do you do it? They said, nothing. Just have to simply change it. Someone's living with you, they're covered. It's going to cost us more money. Okay, no big deal. Let's do it. So we did that. And we always had those type of benefits. And we also, in retail, what do folks have? Full-time or part-time in retail? What do they hire? Part-time, absolutely. And why are they hired part-time? Low pay, no benefits, et cetera, et cetera. Well, I was the store manager, the first store. When you're the store manager, you're like standing there right by the door, right with your front-end team members, talking to customers, unloading trucks, doing everything, cleaning the bathrooms, everything. Because that's what you do, because you're it. You got one store, and you better make it work, or you got big trouble. And you learn pretty quickly, if you have great people, I can get more done. I can then think. That's the key. If you have good people, they take care of the customer, and I can think about how to make the business better, and improve my business. So I had that one good idea, but over time, I got lots of other good ideas. I'm an idea guy. I love ideas. I love change, and I love disruption. I love disruption. I love throwing bombs and changing systems. Because I hate to just accept something. I don't ever accept what someone tells me. I want to say, I'm not sure I'm with you here. Let me understand this better. Make sure I am with you, or maybe I'm not. And I don't mind, saying I'm not. But the bottom line is, that helped us. That realization of what it was like on the front line in those stores said, you need folks who are going to stay here in the company and be successful. So we use a Total Wine, 75% of our folks in the stores are full-time. That means retail averages 25%. So all retail across the United States is 25%. We completely inverted that, because then you're going to pay more, pay a higher rate, and you're going to have medical, Blue Cross Blue Shield, you're going to have disability, you're going to have, sick, and you're going to have retirement and 401s and all those things. And they cost money. But you make money. You make money because you don't get on the turnover wheel, the churn wheel, where people come and go. Then you have to hire people, train people, lose people, hire people, train people. So that change in construct of how you go about this is a different way to look at it. And it's very beneficial, because then they can also take care of the customer. Then I have time to think, make the business better. So we try to be progressive from day one. But getting to Congress, I have 2 more minutes to go, then it's 15 minutes. That woman back there is trying to make me hurry up. And she's always tortured me. She's my boss, and she's always out there. Don't do that to me. We got 2 more minutes. I'm watching that clock. But all joking aside, you know, when you have an opportunity, you know, to give back and change things, and that's why I can do a lot with philanthropy, but I can do way much more in government. Because government doesn't look out for folks that are in the shadows. They don't follow what Hubert Humphrey talked about, folks that are, you know, disabled, folks that are struggling and, you know, getting lost. And by doing that, we're able to really help those that need help. So I focus on addiction, focus on mental illness. As they said, 26 bills last time, over the finish line. Figure out how to get things done. And that's different than a lot of members in Congress. I'm about getting stuff done because I'm not there for the paycheck. I don't want to die there. I want to serve and do something else. And that's it, man. And, you know, that's why term limits makes all sense in the world. And so why do we want to try and be in the Senate versus the House? I'm getting a lot done in the House. We're making good progress. Criminal justice, we passed the Pell Grant bill. You know, folks that were incarcerated couldn't get education, Pell money. Now they can. So every year, 35 million or so is paid out to Pell folks to help them get education. That's a good thing. And we have other wonderful bills in there, that whole same space. But bottom line is you can do more from the Senate because everything is blocking us. There's 10 Republican senators. All the things we want to get done as progressives, I can get through the House when Hakeem Jeffries is in charge. Hakeem has to be in charge in this next election. We're going to take back the House. Hakeem will be in charge. He'll be the first African-American speaker. I worked with him from day one. He's endorsed us, supported us. The whole leadership team's endorsed us. He will be a spectacular speaker. He is brilliant and just brilliant, cares. The whole criminal justice piece, that's where he and I bonded. He was on judiciary. So I went all my stuff with him right away, day one. So, you know, but we aren't going to hold the Senate because Joe Manchin's gone, means it's 50-50. One vote, we lose. One seat, and 24 of our seats are up, 9 of theirs are up. We lose one, we're in a minority. Some of us think that maybe Larry Hogan could be running for the seat. Said he's not. You ever believe what they say? Any of you? I never have. But he's got to be relevant. He wants to be president. He's not going to win in 24. It's Trump's insanity. So, you know, it's democracy's at risk. We're all on the same page here. And but he's going to try and be relevant. We think that could be an issue. And I think I can beat Larry Hogan. The polling shows I can beat Larry Hogan. And that's important, I think. So that's why I'm in this business. I'm in this thing. I'm on a mission. I'm not here to have anybody else run me, spending my own money. 99% of the money is my own money. We get some contributions come in here and there. Take no PAC money, no lobbyist money. No one's going to tell me I can't tell big oil, you guys are ripping us off. I can't go after big pharma, who is ripping us off. And we can't go after, you know, the coal companies who are ripping us off. And we can't fight for the environment and fight for things that matter to us because I need their money. I'm not taking their money. So if we win, we'd be the only US senator, only one out of 100, doesn't take PAC or lobbyist money. Everybody else takes it. 1.5 billion the last 2-year cycle. Can you imagine that? $1.5 billion. That's what they took in. They're not going after their health. I think they want something. And you see what they got. They got the high oil, we got the prices on profits on the oil, the process against our environment, things we have against our drug pricing, the list goes on and on and on. So that's why we're in this, we're on a mission, we're driven for change. And I'm lucky I have the opportunity to do it. And that's why I'm here. So that's it, we'll take questions.
So Congressman Trone, real fast before we dive into questions. So kind of how we're doing it is we're going to alternate between questions in person as well as here on Zoom. We have about 20 people on Zoom as well. You can actually see them right behind you. However, we do have a tradition here at the LSPC. The first question we always ask anyone who comes up and stands at the town hall is, what do you find is the most important issue facing the Eastern Shore, and how would you address it as a U.S. Senator?
Yeah, I mean, the most important issue facing not just the Eastern Shore, but the whole world. I mean, if we don't talk about it, you see it right here in the Eastern Shore with climate change, what it's going to do to take away our shore itself. The shore won't be the shore. The shore will become part of the ocean. The rivers will be expanded. I mean, we've seen the wildfires, we've seen the intensity of what's happened in our climate. So if we don't continue the fight, and the Inflation Reduction Act, which, we certainly voted for, was the biggest step that's ever been taken.
Mhm.
Joe Biden took the biggest steps ever been taken in helping drive this back, but we can't do it alone. All these other countries are out there in the African diaspora, Asia, all these second, third world countries. We've got to also figure out how to reach out with them and help them catapult past the carbon age of fuel burning that we did. How do we take some of our technology advances into air, into water, into solar, into maybe even small nuclear generation with small nuclear plants, small ones that do certain areas, put out X number of kilowatts, et cetera, that are 100% safe. Why can't we take some of those advances and use them around the rest of the world? Or they're all going to go through the same thing we went through. And we'll be getting clean and they'll be getting dirtier. And that can't possibly work. So I think that is the biggest threat that we've all got. I mean, I try to do long-term thinking. Long-term thinking is about two things: education or kids. That's what we value. So I value my 4 kids, my 1 grandson. But also after that, it's where are our kids gonna live?
Mhm.
So we don't get that right, we got nothing. That's a good one. Thank you.
Thank you. Floor is open for questions. If anyone has a question, feel free to raise your hand. Albert, you were first. You're gonna Albert.
Congressman, good to see you one more time. My name is Ivory Smith, and the president of the Worcester County Education Support Personnel Association in Worcester County. My question is to you. If you, or when, I'll say that, when you're elected senator, there is a bill presented by Senator Markey and co-sponsored by Senator Warren about paraprofessional and education support professional Bill of Rights. Would you be able to work the other side to bring that bill to pass to help the education support professionals throughout the county?
Ivory, thank you for that. I appreciate that. And so that's an affirmative yes. My campaign manager just did Ned Lamont's campaign in Vermont, Connecticut. Before that, he was Elizabeth Warren's person. So he comes out of the Warren camp.
Mhm.
And my guy that runs things. And Marky and I have been thick as thieves working, and his wife is also involved. She's a brilliant, brilliant person on knowing about addiction. So Marky served with me on the commission to stop fentanyl from China and Mexico into the US. He was the Democratic senator, and I was the Democratic House member. So I know Marky very well, and it's gonna be a pleasure to work with Ed Markey and Elizabeth in that type of an event. So that's an easy one. Thank you for that. We gotta help those that are struggling. Can't do that, man. Forget it. We all go up together. Yep. Next.
I saw someone else raise their hand. You sir, can you also can folks make sure you say your name and what county you're from?
Hank Uloff, Somerset. I am not president of any organization, just my own company.
That's pretty good.
Relatively new here. I used to be in Brad Sherman's district, so we were close friends with Brad.
Wow, I know Brad well.
He's a good man.
He is.
And I'll ask him about you. Question.
I'll be okay there.
I fan of your stores, live in California.
Wow.
Heard you just said long-term planning you're a fan of. You and I are both in the same demographic age-wise. How many terms are you gonna serve?
Me?
Yeah.
Senate? No
Yeah.
more than 2.
Okay.
No more than 2. Our bill that we're putting out, we haven't released it yet, but I guess I'll talk about it anyway, is we're gonna put out this policy page that says we think term limits should be 6 terms in the House, 12 years, 2 terms in the Senate, 12 years. That's it.
Yes.
That's it. No more. We can't have people just stay forever. And
What about the Supreme Court?
we have that in there also. We put that 18 years.
Okay.
We have a whole policy proposal we're putting out, which the 3rd, 4th iterations in my briefcase and the car. And we need a code of ethics. Hello, ethics? I mean, Clarence Thomas, hello. I mean, the man should be gone. And what Trump has done to us on the court and, everything, it's just abomination. So, no, I think all appointed should not be appointed for life. We got to have a number that says 18, and we got to rotate them out. in certain groups, like 1 and 3rd year, every first year, 3rd year. So they kind of go out like senators go out. Senators go out 2 years, a third of them. 2 years later, another third. And so our proposal is the same type of thing to rotate judges out and eliminate these lifetime appointments. Because, and it's the same as the House. I mean, when there's someone, I was with Debbie Wasserman Schultz one time. She came in when she was 32. And she says, you know when I'll be the chairman of my committee? I wait my turn, 73. I mean, and she says, I'm not gonna be my best of my game. So, and she's right. So we need to serve and go. And so, you know, I'm not sure how long I'm gonna serve, but I'm certainly gonna serve more than 2 terms in a million years. One might be where I land. You know, bottom line, I mean, we're here to get shit done and then get the hell out of Dodge and let somebody else come in with new ideas and new vigor and a sense of urgency. When you're gonna be there for 20, 30, 40 years, how do you get any sense of urgency? You know, but, and you gotta be able to get, as Ivy said, you gotta be able to help folks like Elizabeth and folks like Joe Markey to reach across the aisle. We do gotta reach across the aisle because we need those 10 Republican votes. And I've been able to do that. I've been able to get folks to see a progressive value, our progressive values on things like criminal justice. You know, what we think is important. They may do it for a different reason. We do it because we believe that's right. We believe in second chances, and that's just who we are. They may do it to pay down the national debt. And if that's how they think about criminal justice, and that's an argument I make with them, it's a true argument. Every 100 returning citizens that we get a job, it's a $5 million delta swing between the cost of incarceration and the taxes they pay. 5 million for every 100 people. So when you talk to a Republican, and he can be pretty conservative, you can say, these folks get a job, you pay down the debt, $5 million every 100. They're like, that's good. I like that. And then you say, well,
But they want to privatize jails.
we're not going there. We're not going. We want to take that 80 billion we spend on prisons and move it to 70 and move it to 60 and pay some of that forward in education and the climate change and all the things we need to work on. But how do we spend 80 billion a year? We're 25% of the world's prisoners, we incarcerate. We're 4.2% of the population. Are we failing? I think we're failing. We're the land of the jailers. It's insanity. And so many times we're taking diseases and turning them into a crime, like addiction. How do we lock people up for addiction? So that's a good question. Thank you. Where are we at next?
The next question actually comes from online, and it says, in 2020, Wacomico was 860 votes short of flipping for Joe Biden for the first time since 1964.
Wow.
If you were the nominee, how would you plan on not only flipping the county, but also making sure that you, as the nominee, would win Wacomico? So I guess it's asking, how would you invest and how would you win here?
Yeah, I think what you do is you look at what we did already. I mean, I took my counties, and I've got 3 counties I've lost every time: Garrett, Allegheny, and Washington County. And they're Republican counties. And I'm working and have been working from day one to build the Democratic Party in those counties, all those counties. And each of those counties, the way you build a party is, first thing we do is we fund up the county organizations. So they have the funding to run an organization. If they have no funding, they don't have anything. They can't get a place to meet. They can't have pizza. They can't have anything. Then we got to get folks on the ballot. But if you run nobody on the ballot against the county commissioner, I mean, how do we say to people that there was a choice? We're not saying that. We got to get everybody on the ballot. So we've worked really hard in those outer counties, and to a lesser degree Frederick, but those 3 counties, which all are Republican, I've lost them every time. Every time I've lost them. And my district is an R+1. I'm a Republican +1 district. Yet I won by 10 points. So I'm in a Republican area. If I do nothing, I lose every time. And so we've got to build a party, and you build it from the bottom up. And take Frederick, for example. When we started in Frederick was a red county. Frederick is now blue. And we now control 5 of the 7 seats on the county council and county executive. And I worked hard, personally. I probably spent maybe $500,000. My money, to support the independent expenditure campaign run by MSEA. So MSEA, our teachers union, ran the campaign. I was a large funder. And then we won county executive, and a member of our union, Jessica Fitzwater, union teacher. She's now our county executive. She won by 970 votes. So you think about it, somebody had to spend $500,000 on mail and everything else under the sun. You think we would think I got 970 votes? I guarantee you that money got 970 votes.
Right.
And we also got 5 out of 7 council members. And we support all the council and the BOE. Don't ever forget about your Board of Education. The Trumpers now, the MAGA Republicans are running folks against BOE. I was in Anne Arundel this morning. They're going after our Board of Education folks, and they want to change what education is about, change history, not talk about things that we should talk about. So we've got to support Board of Education too. And we did great on that one also. But we carried like the mail. The mail had Fitzwater's picture, all Frederick mail, 100%, and my picture. Same size, side by side. Not me above her, side by side. Team. And below that, we had the county council people. Below that had the BOE. And then we ran the mail program. And we ran the door-to-door program. So you got to build it from the ground up, and it's really, really important to build it out. That's just, I'm a hardcore Democrat. Us and Adam Schiff are the leading contributor to Democrats around the United States. So from anybody in Congress or the Senate, Schiff and I are 1 and 1. I write the checks over 10 million the last 3.5 terms. Adam raises it. Adam Schiff's endorsed us, but we're out there supporting Democrats all over the United States. And then somehow you all got my friggin' phone number. Don't call. And we try to help out. We got to win. I mean, good question.
So can folks hold their hands up for just a second? No, I need to get a list of everyone's name as a question so I can make sure that.
Don't worry, on that list will start a new one.
Ma'am, what is your name?
Suzanne Turner.
We have 2 online, so we're gonna alternate. I did see your hand first. Yep.
I'm Don Singleton. I'm a retired university professor. This is more of a comment than a question, but it's something that's high on my radar at the moment. What's being done in Congress to control the collection of private information? Is there anything percolating? There's a bill, I understand, in the Assembly this session in Annapolis to pass the similar legislation that passed in California and passed in Colorado, which provides a one-stop opt-out. You cannot have my information, and you can't say that if you click on this, you give up the right to your firstborn. So, and this information is dangerous. It's being utilized for criminal purposes. As I recently discovered, I hadn't bought an automobile in 20 years. I went to a dealership. It was clear they had turned my information inside out to discover how much they thought they could steal. So this is a priority for me.
Yeah.
We need to do this at the national level. I put an extension on my Google search engine. I've had it on for like 3 weeks, something like 35,000 blocks. It's amazing. It goes up 800 every time I sign on. It's just incredible. So.
Yeah, now you got to block, and the damn thing will be listening to you. If you don't hit the right button, it's listening to you, then it's selling you whatever you've been talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, they're using AI, and so I'm with you. I'm an ACLU guy for 30 years, and having our own privacy, financial privacy, personal privacy, nobody's damn business, and you ought to be able to block everything out. I don't think anything's going to happen in Congress for the next 12 months. Nothing has happened so far this year. I mean, they get a speaker, they lose him, we get a new one. He's a disaster. We may shut the government down on the 9th. I mean, it's a train wreck. Nothing is accomplished. 26 bills have passed this whole year. None of them have any consequence. They went to the president. That's it, nothing. It's MAGA Republicans catering to 30, 40 people, but they need to hold their 3-vote majority now. And so nothing is getting done. My life, I resent this, is being wasted. Man,
Understand.
so we have to address all that, and that's why voting is so important, and maintaining the Senate will be absolutely crucial. Yeah.
The next question comes from online, Michelle Way, and she asked, what is your position on continued funding for Ukraine?
Yeah, we have to fund Ukraine. It's that simple. I mean, I've read a lot about Vladimir Putin. I've gone to a lot of classified briefings. I mean, there's no doubt, zero doubt. If he wins in Ukraine, we don't fund, he wins. They fall. Once they fall, he's gonna go to Moldova, we go to Georgia, take them out, probably go somewhere else. And then it's gonna be Americans, boots on the ground. I would much rather spend the money than put Americans in Europe.
Yeah.
And the man is evil. So we have to fund Ukraine.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, have to. So I'm here.
So how do we make the Republicans understand this?
They understand, they don't care.
I think that's perfect. They do understand, and I don't think they do care. I think that the MAGA Republicans who are the problem, this whole thing, the Trump hardcore, Matt Gaetz, Margie, Lauren Boebert, Joe, all those guys, your buddy. Andy Harris.
Yeah.
Okay, just put it out in the room. It's all hold our breath a minute and puke. Andy Harris. I mean, you really do. I served with him on appropriations. The man just the bane of our existence.
Yeah.
He's just
Arrogant.
he gets everything we did this year in approach. They've tried to put on abortion riders, which they put on, and LGBTQ riders. Every approach bill. That's all they cared about. And of course, none of those bills are going to go anywhere. The Senate's don't accept any of that. So all that time is wasted doing things that can't possibly happen. They're just evil. I mean, give me a break. So how do we convince them? I don't think this group you're going to convince. I talked to the Washington Post today. I told them I think we're going to go to a shutdown. Because that 40, and Trump included, they think it's strategically better for them to shut the government down. And trust me, unfortunately, we in this room, because you all follow this stuff like crazy, we know why it's shut down. But the American people see it shut down and they blame government writ large. And our president, Joe Biden, the Democrats, and the Democrats who control the Senate, we're all going to get some of that blame. They'll be blaming us, I'll tell you that. I mean, they'll be telling you, oh, they wanted to keep it open and we wouldn't make the appropriate arrangements on the border and it's all on us. And so voting matters a lot. And we've got to get back in control, and the cult of Trump has to die and Trump has to go to jail. He's beat in jail. My favorite one is when he goes, his wife won't even visit him, I guarantee you. It's like, no chance. She's done. Well, she's done. The kids are done, except for Donnie. He's too dumb to know he's not done.
Our next question's here in the room, Sydney Jacobs.
Yes, hey, it's good, it's a pleasure to see you.
Yes, we'll see you again.
Yes, Dorchester County, East Newmarket, Maryland. You regularly donate at least $100,000 to AIPAC each year. As you of course know, some of your colleagues like Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, AOC, Cori Bush, the rest of the squad have been outspoken critics of Israel and its occupation of Palestinian land, as well as the way Israel has gone about their handling the conflict against Hamas. Because of their outspokenness, AIPAC is now planning to spend over $100 million towards primary opponents of the squad in an attempt to oust them. Given your record of calling out big money and lobbyist influence in politics, do you condemn what AIPAC is doing to oust the squad from power? And as senator, would you support an amendment that would overturn the Supreme Court's Citizens United decision?
Yeah, we need to overturn Citizens United. Totally overturn Citizens United. I don't think they're spending $100 million. I'd have to find out about that. They don't have $100 million to spend, so I don't think they're spending that.
Okay.
I think they've moved on from some of those things because I don't think anyone's taking. I know Rashida, I know Ilhan. I don't think they're going to lose. So I don't think anybody's spending any money that real matters to take out someone they can't win. So I mean, that's the way it is. I don't think that's happening. And on those particular people. Did they fight, other folks? Yes, absolutely. But we strongly need to get the dirty money, the dark money out of politics.
Yes.
When I spend $1, you know where it came from. It came from my checking account. But when $1 goes into a PAC, and then that PAC uses another $1, and there's no disclosure, you don't know what they're advocating for. I mean, you watch those ads on your TV and you don't know who's behind that ad. But you do know one thing, there's somebody down there who's gonna benefit from it. And that's what's not coming out, but we need transparency, total transparency and money. And the Citizens United train wreck, and we've had a bad run here. I mean, Dobbs, God, what a terrible run in all the affirmative action cases. You never thought these things could ever happen, and they have. So, yeah, so now I'm with you there. That's a good question.
The next question comes from online from Linda Bass. Linda, if you want to unmute and ask it, you can. If not, I'll give you a second. If you don't unmute, I'll just read the question. I do want to give the option to everyone online to actually ask the question.
That's a no.
So her question is, there is concern in the medical and scientific community that we are not prepared to handle the next pandemic. What do you feel is appropriate role of the federal government in meeting the challenge of being better prepared for the next one? Cannot handle another Trump-demic. I didn't make that up. That was part of the question.
No, I knew you were just giving it exactly like it was. That was good. That was funny. But no, I mean, we were not prepared for the last one. I met with Francis Collins one-on-one in 2016. Met him at a Starbucks. I know exactly. I can see the Starbucks where I met him over in Bethesda. And I was trying to get educated about medical research and the pluses, the minuses, things that aren't getting done that should be getting done, and things like that. And just one-on-one, not in his office, just right there, separate. And I asked him the obvious question, what do you think is the biggest issue facing this world? That is a train wreck at the end of the day for all of us. And he described 2016 perfectly. COVID, flu, millions dead, virus, blah, blah. We got nothing for it. I mean, just nailed it. So, didn't even think about it, just boom. So they all knew something like this was highly likely, and yet government, to my earlier comment, is all short-term thinkers.
Yeah.
And we ought to be thinking long-term about our kids being alive, because this thing, some of the variant is 100% coming back. There's no question we're gonna have these type of things down the road. And I'm sorry, we gotta spend 100 million, $1 billion, whatever it takes. We need to spend money, it's smart money, spend money to save money and lives. How do you calculate the value of that life? You can't calculate it. So we've got to be doing that. Overall, NIH is 7-to-1 return. 7-to-1. And we wouldn't have had the vaccine if it wasn't for the 10, 11 years prior, they got the whole RMA type testing moving. I mean, they would have got that research started, we wouldn't have had the vaccine like we did. It was already started because of NIH. So we need to be ready for this. It's coming back.
Thank you. The next question is from Marie. It's good to see you in person, Marie. It's been a while.
I know. Hi, I'm from Worcester County. That has nothing to do with my question. Two things. Finance reform. What can we do to get a more equitable system so that I don't have to have a company to run and be able to do what you're doing? That's one question. The other question is defense. Do you feel that we can reduce the amount of money being put into defense and or put that money towards education, have the Department of Education in defense, so that education has got the money and being used?
Yeah, we talked about the Supreme Court landmark decision that put us behind the 8 ball. Public financing, we're on record supporting public financing. It opens up the field for other folks to get involved. But defense, I couldn't be with you more. I mean, how many more F-35s do we need? Can I take that money instead, put it toward things that really matter to us? Mental illness, how much I can do with that? What can I do in addiction? We lost 110,000 people last year to overdoses. 80% of those were fentanyl. My nephew's dead. Addiction runs in my family. We lost 50,000 last year to suicide. 50,000. 28,000 were to firearms. Why we need to eliminate all the firearms problems and why, most of us had 0 ratings NRA. We should always have a 0 rating from the NRA, but we need to cut the fence back. I'm a Rosa DeLauro fan, the appropriations chief, and child tax credit. That's the first place I go, because the child tax credit, best thing we ever did to cut childhood poverty. It was 11%. We cut it to 5% for 2 years, and we ran out of money. Republicans wouldn't do it. Can you imagine that a minute? Think about that a second. You don't make any money, so we give you a tax credit, but it's a credit, not money.
Right.
How nuts is that? The child tax credit, all it does is say, you deserve a credit, and now we're gonna give you the money. So you can take care of your kids and yourself and survive. So, that's the number one thing I would love to see, some of that defense money going away. Kay Granger is retiring as head of approach to the Republicans. Big F-35 champ. Look at where they're made.
Tax credit for disabled children.
Yeah, same type thing, absolutely. Back to Humphrey again. Those that are disabled, that's what we gotta put our money into. And those that are disadvantaged, we talked about that for school systems. Educationally challenged, IDEA money. Federal government said you have to do this, X, Y, and Z at our schools to help those that are struggling. And then we said, we'll fund 40% of it. And the federal government, best year, gave 14.25%. We didn't fund it. We told them to do it, help those that are struggling in schools, and then we didn't do it. So I'm all for cutting the defense budget. You know what, they can figure things out. And, we also gotta get our budgets done on time. You guys that own a business and others, how do you not do your budget on time? We're using last year's budget. How does last year's budget and the things that were important last year affect this year? They're irrelevant. They don't affect. Last time we had this shutdown, we lost $3 billion is the most conservative estimate, just burnt in the wind. $3 billion. What could we have done with that? Just burn it up. And we're buying helicopters that we already bought last year, because that's what the CR does. It continues the same. And then you jam spending into the last 2, 3, 4 months. So when I get folks on the Hill and I Q&A them and I say to them, what happened when you got the late budget? It came in 6 months late. Well, I spent all my budget. Why? Because if I didn't spend it all, they might not give me that much money next year. So in a business guy, we're going to say, I'm going to save some money and make money. Then I can grow my business, give better benefits, help my people, whatever. A lot of choices. But in government, they just want to spend it all so they get the same amount next year, then they ask for more. And so it's a crazy, broken system. But to be running a CR here in January, 2 years before that, we did one in December. Ends October, 1st, it ends. And the 2 years before that were both in March. So we had 2 March years we finished. Now we don't know when we're going to finish, and 1 December year. And October 1 should have been it. And we got to get the budget done. It's just nuts. They're taking the American people's money and wasting it. That ticks me off.
Our next question comes from Vice Chair Ryan Poe, and he's on Zoom. He's going to unmute and ask. Ryan, there we go.
Hi, yeah, can you hear me all right?
Yes.
All right, I guess we'll just, public transit is integral to combating climate change and also to bring opportunity to our communities. What is your view on systems like high-speed rail and local passenger lines connecting all of Maryland and the rest of the country? And also tangentially related to climate change and fossil fuels is when are we going to ban plastic?
So great question. Big part of that question is high-speed rail. Let's see, our train to Philadelphia to New York City averages 95 miles an hour. Japan, China, soon Egypt, soon Brazil, France, a little bit lower, all those trains can average over 300 miles an hour. They all have high-speed rail. High-speed rail is safe, and what it does to the climate is spectacular. Europe's mission is any plane ride less than 2 hours. They want to move that to rail. So they're doing everything they can to make that rail, because the climate benefits are monstrous to move it to high-speed rail. And whether it's maglev or whatever the technology is, doesn't matter. It's all high-speed rail. So I've been driving high-speed rail very unsuccessfully. I've failed. I've had the head of the Transportation Administration, under Pete, it's the National Railroad Administration, his name is Amit Bose. I've had it in my office numerous times, and he just ain't doing what Congress said. Congress said, you have to build high-speed rail. They had a bake-off of 14 different proposals 15 years ago. They picked one, it's called maglev. And it's to go the Northeast Corridor, Washington, Baltimore, Philadelphia, Newark, New York City. And the Japanese are paying $8 billion of the first 16 billion. And that's to say, hey, we'll show you this works. Then after that, you go from there. So it's a really great deal. I had Joe Biden in my house, and I talked to him about it directly. And he says, hey, I love rail. He says, I'm all in for this, but nothing friggin' happens. So I'm a failure. I'm up against a rock here. We've got to have high-speed rail for all the great reasons we need, but most importantly, our climate. And I mean, if you could be in New York for a business meeting in an hour, think about your time you save for your individuals. Isn't our time worth a lot? And plastic, I'm not sure that was exactly, we've got to get all the plastic out of the place. We got to pick it up and get rid of it or make it illegal to have plastic everywhere. It's just going in the ocean everywhere else. Train wreck.
I just want to comment that I read in the paper that Delaware, there is somebody going to consider the passenger service on the existing railroad. And they got 500,000 from the federal government to.
That's actually what I was going to point out. So the Biden administration, as you probably already know, has issued a bunch of funding for rail services.
Yep.
Well, there's the Diamond Line that's now going to be going from either Norfolk or Wilmington down to Sussex with the goal of one day connecting either Salisbury or Berlin. The point I wanted to raise, which touches on here, is if you were elected to Senate, would you work with Senator Van Hollen, who we're meeting with, because Andy Harris isn't going to do a damn thing, to make sure that we get the funding needed to bring it.
I want to get high-speed rail anywhere we can get it, to show the viability of it and get people to buy into it. But there's all kinds of places in this country we can connect ourselves, save our environment. And there's other proposals right now. There's an LA to San Francisco thing that's out there. Rather than going direct, they're going out here to Fresno, they're going around, they're coming back. There's the Bright Line, which I went and traveled with the congressman from Miami, Mario Delbart, and we drove that. The Bright Line goes from Miami, but it doesn't go high speed, but it's a push on rail, which is clean and totally clean and soundless and comfortable. And it'll eventually go to Orlando, and they're connecting that. And that's private money paying for that. So there's a lot of, we gotta get on this. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's what I was. It wouldn't be high speed, but it would be more. It's something.
It's like the Bright Line you have in Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next question is from Demetria Marshall. Yeah, so I'm just going through the list. I saw your hand up.
So, yeah, two questions. So, we write them checks to the organization. Don't forget the Whatcom County Democratic Center Committee. Randy put the notes. Another thing, when we building community relationship is just vital. Like during the down season, you have been on the shore pretty much a lot. Can we expect to see you, if you do, can we expect to see you just as much afterwards?
Yeah.
Okay.
The benefit of electing someone that's not out spending all their time on the phone, raising money. Steve Israel was in Congress for, I think, 16 years, Long Island. Respect as a very good legislator, very good congressman. When he was done, he had kept track of it for the whole time he was there. And I think the number was 46% of the time he spent in Congress, he was involved in some part of fundraising.
Yeah.
Right.
You imagine that?
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. I mean, it's mind-boggling. And so what I've tried to do in my district is be very present from Garrett County to Allegheny and all the players, all the folks, all the mayors, the commissioners. We work as a team. And I always talk about how you connect local, how you connect that with state, how you connect with the Fed. Together, we're stronger. Then if we bring in private enterprise and private business, we're even stronger. So we've got to connect everybody together, so we're seeing the same problem and coming at it from different ways we can to get progress. But you've got to stay present, and that's why in my district, even though they changed my district, much to my disadvantage, I still prevailed significantly. But in every one of those red counties, I got better every election, as I showed up.
Right.
And I listened to what they said, and then I addressed it. I mean, an example would be Garrett County. Garrett County asked me to do two things. 100% Republican. Last time I got 25% of the vote. 25. Started 20. Up to 25. It's a start. I won't live long enough for that one. But at the end of the day is, they asked me to do two things: and fix Route 219 and get us broadband. Well, following year, there have been 20 years in a row, not a dollar put in the Appalachian Regional Highway System Fund. Not $1 for 20 years. So I put in a proposal for appropriations, and I have no idea why. They added $100 million.
Whoa.
No, we didn't get much of that because Maryland's a small part of it. Well, I went to West Virginia, the other Appalachian systems, Alabama, those all have Appalachian part of the area, but we got some, we got a few million, but they put in $100 million, boom. So now I'm on appropriations. So now we got real juice. So we were able to work with a partner, Joe Manchin, the Senate, and we passed the Appalachian Highway System to finish the whole system. That was first started in 1965, and we got a 1.2 billion. Maryland got our share. That will pay 100% for 219. All we had to do left was 219. That's all that was left. Now we got all the money to pay 219. And so their point out there, they're all Republicans, is you sat with us, you listen, then you execute it. And obviously broadband's going to change the world from what build bipartisan infrastructure bill, 1.3 trillion, 65 billion is broadband. That's all coming. It'll take 10 years to roll it out because we're going to be so slow and we don't have the workers, but it's changing. It's like we brought electric, we brought highways. Now we're bringing the digital highway. It's the third biggest thing ever to America, and rural will benefit.
Next question actually comes from me, and it's actually based, so tonight I'm wearing a blue pen, a blue square from the End Jewish Hate campaign. One of the things, so I'm not sure if I mentioned this to you in the call that we had, is I'm Jewish, and several members of my family, as well as my friends, have expressed a lot of concern since October 7th, even about the rise in anti-Semitism, whether it's being afraid for me to wear a yarmulke in public, or going to synagogue on Friday night, or even something as simple as having menorah in my window during Hanukkah. If elected to the Senate, how will you address the rise in anti-Semitism and combat other forms of hate?
Well, I think we should start with Islamophobia. And Donald Trump started the wheel rolling, calling out one group, our Muslim brothers and sisters. So he called them out with his travel ban, and that began to pull things out from under a rock. I stepped up with my foundation. I wasn't even in Congress then. My foundation, we provided legal defense for all the folks who were caught up in my area with the travel ban. So we did that for 3 straight years, 100,000 every year. Legal defense, we helped all those folks out. So I go to the mosque, they're like, yeah, he was there. We had a problem, you didn't just talk about it and get something. But anti-Semitism is off the charts, 400%. I'm Lutheran. My wife is Jewish. My 4 kids are Jewish. They're all bar mitzvah. I have the exact same pin you have there. And you know who I got the pin from? I got it from a woman who lost one of her close relatives, first cousin, on October 7th. And so I met with a whole bunch of those, 3 or 4 of those groups. And what happened there was unbelievable, but the anti-Semitism that is spawning now across this world, we've got to stand strong against the BDS movement, call it out for what it is, and be there to shout it to the rooftops, but we can't tolerate anything. It's Islamophobia, it's Asian hate. We moved to Asian hate. I remember Atlanta and all what happened there. So all the folks who look a little different, somebody says, let's hate them. And then we'll feel better about ourselves. Kind of sounds like somebody we remember back in the late 30s, doesn't it? Kind of sounds like a lot like that guy. That's pretty scary to me. Should be scary to all of us. So if we don't stand together against Asian hate, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, it's personal to me. My son went to Vanderbilt, And he was down in Vanderbilt with some of his friends. They had a reunion party. And he told me literally, he said, Dad, the protests are such that I'm certainly not going to wear anything that identifies me as Jewish. And he's a 6'2" young man. And he says, I'm not going there. That's pretty scary for a dad to hear that. Yeah, sad. It's sick. And it starts with Trump. You don't mind. And he unearthed it from Iraq.
Isn't the policy just to prosecute when it's against an individual rather than a group? Because that's the biggest problem that I see in that scenario.
Yeah, if somebody steps out, we've got to prosecute against that individual. I mean, that's for sure. We don't stand, if they cross a legal line, we have to do
There's
that.
consequences for when it's towards a group of people.
Well, there's a lot of speech that's allowed, and it can be pretty hateful and pretty intimidating, and it's not going to be law is not going to get involved. Yeah, it's intimidation.
The next question we have is from Sue.
Oh,
Yeah.
hi, Lisa Jackson Stein from Salisbury. This kind of goes on right now. There's so much hatred and fear about immigrants.
Yeah.
And we all know that immigrants made this country, even the Native Americans were immigrants. Right, but if you look, so many jobs are open and hiring, and they're calling for people who are not necessarily skilled, but willing to work. Every one of those people, I bet, would be happy to come here, take a job, even if it's fast food, to get a start in this country legally. How do you feel about that? And this is not what country they came from, it's just.
Yeah, you could write we write the same response on my website.
Border control.
Yeah. Yeah, border, and the Republicans are moving it all to border. Go ahead, you want to add something quick?
My friend is sitting here, he could tell you where he's from. He could literally tell you about himself, right? He has been looking for a job, and it's hard for him to get a job. He is legal. So it's hard for him to get a job, and he is an immigrant. So he is legal, and he's been looking for a job, and he's looking to get in the political arena. So you can speak for yourself, because I'm calling you out. So go ahead, tell these people about yourself.
Yeah, hello. Hello, sir.
Hi there, nice to meet you.
Yeah, I'm from India, and I after getting my work permit and everything, I tried at so many places, but I never heard back. My qualification is I'm graduate from the college with the bachelor in commerce, and then I passed the law degree. And I had worked 10 years as an attorney for the state in my country for one federal agency. But after all this experience and everything, I tried at many places since like 2-3 years, but I didn't get a job which is to match my qualification right now. Since 3 years, I am doing job in a gas station. I'm not saying it is bad. It's good for me to survive me, but it is not what I studied for.
Yeah,
But
what degrees do you
I'm
have?
not getting it.
What degrees do you have?
Bachelor in a law.
Bachelor degree?
Yeah,
And
in
a law degree?
and in a commerce as well.
You have a law degree or a law degree?
Yeah, law. I was a lawyer. I was an attorney
In India.
state. Yeah, for the federal agency for the 3 years and
Yeah.
10 years practicing in a criminal justice.
Yeah, so a lot of things he hits on there. One thing is, we've talked about a lot, is that folks that have a degree in another country, a law degree in India, a doctor in Guatemala, or maybe an engineer in Pakistan, they make them come here because the associations, lobbyists, PACs are so strong, we can't bring them in to do the job that they're already trained for because they weren't trained in America. Well, engineering, my wife's an engineer. Engineering is engineering. doctor's not exactly doctor, and you gotta know a few things here, but we make it way hard and make them start over again. So one thing we've been talking about relentlessly is how folks that have a degree, advanced degree, how we can get them into the field, maybe nursing, sooner in their degree without going back to square one, because none of them can afford to do it. So I talk to AAPI community all the time, and they're very supportive of me because it's just nuts that we don't use this talent that we have. So that's that problem. Two, there's always bigotry everywhere. And you know that, I know that. And so that's out there. So I wish I could they could go away, but it's not going away. I don't know your individual position, but I think there's two types of immigrants that you see that are so important to get here. One is folks that have one education or have education, and they're at this top level. And our proposal is, if you come here to any course of college, want to take one course, we should give you a path to citizenship in 5 years. My thinking is, if all the smart people live in the United States and they don't live somewhere else, we'll be better off. And it's not that complicated. I just think that we got to figure out how to get them here, because they want to be here if they want to be a citizen, and they're smart. So let's get them here. And let's give them a time frame. You gotta give it, can't be 48 years, if you're from India. There's 6 or 7 countries where the numbers are just like forever, decades. They estimate that about roughly 26% of those in a wait list for green card to citizenship will be dead before they get it.
Oh my God.
26%. I read the stat the other day. Now, mind-boggling. That's our government. They have no sense of urgency. And they don't have the ability to make the case and say, I need a bigger appropriation, and et cetera, et cetera. But so that top end. But the second area we need, folks, is, and that's folks that come in to take care of the construction industry, take care of landscaping, to help us become teachers pretty quickly, maybe work in a child care, and at the lower end of the scale. And they may be coming right now. They used to be Irish, or they used to be from China, or they used to be from, Italy or whatever, but now they're coming from El Salvador or Mexico or Nicaragua or Venezuela or Cuba or Haiti. Fantastic. I love it. I love immigration. And let's bring those folks here, and they're going to fill those jobs at the lower end. And right now we need 650,000 people for the housing industry. That's what the housing industry right now needs to move forward. We have 6.5 million people in America who want to buy a home. We're only making 1.6 million houses a year. And no one's selling their existing starter house because they're locked in with their mortgage of 4% and 3% and under. 82% of those folks that have mortgages in this country have a 4 or 3% or less mortgage. And most of those, a lot of those are starter homes. And so it's a couple, they got 1 kid, now maybe they have 2 kids, maybe they get a better job, they want to move to a bigger home. Then when they move to a bigger home, that starter home becomes available.
Wow.
But that never becomes available because they're locked in their mortgage, because it's 7.5% now to replace it. So we got folks landlocked, we're not going to do construction. Bottom line, we need those workers. They can do those jobs. And what about innovation?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, immigrants found 40% of the Fortune 100 by the immigrant or the next generation. Second generation, Apple, Google, eBay, all immigrants of the next generation. Immigrants create tens of millions of jobs. It's unbelievable what they create, because I look at life one way and you look at it a different way, and you look at it a different way, and you a different way, because we come from different places. And that's what can really drive the American economy. So we need those workers at the bottom, and then they're all going to get their kids to college. I've just seen it time and time again. And then their kids are going to soar. And I hate this, I shouldn't even say this, but sometimes I often say, too often they yell at me, the best Americans are the newest Americans sometimes. Yes. Because they're like, hey, this is so unbelievable. I'm here in America. Wow. Where was I before? This is unreal. And we look at it, we're like taking for granted, and complaining about this and that. And, they're like, wow.
I want to add one thing in that my son, he is in a 12th grade and he is doing GROTC. Recently, his recruiter came to my house that, he's a really good cadet and we really want to absorb him in the army. And he is even very much willing to work in army. But after that, seeing that he still didn't get the green card, the recruiter said, "Oh, sorry, we cannot do anything."
I mean, it's insanity that we make people wait, and then why don't we just say, here's what we want, more people, more ideas, smart people, people that have initiative, want to work hard and fill the jobs at the entry levels. So I want to work in Congress, in the Senate, to change immigration. That's high. Like, I mean, right now I'm on addiction, I'm on mental illness, I'm on systemic racism, I'm on education, I'm on climate, of course, but long-term immigration is key. Best people, we win. I think you can get some Republicans on that. Because Republicans, they claim they're business people. I'm not sure they are all the time, but some moderates, not the crazies, forget the crazies. They're just crazy, man. Write them off. They just got to go away one day. But we can get folks there that want to ingest in the next Google.
Right.
I mean, why not?
I know you've been talking for a while, Congressman.
Yeah, I'm almost
Staff
late.
let me know that we have time for 2 more. So I'm going to ask Ro, and then after Ro, Susan to ask the last 2 questions. Then we'll give you a chance to make closing statements.
Thanks all been said. I'm just going to go.
So Ro, yep.
Hi, Ro Libin. I am representing Salisbury P5. I'm not sure if you're familiar with P5.
No.
No, it's the local advocacy group for the LGBTQIA community.
Great, fantastic.
Yes, and I'm asking, how are you going to be an advocate for my community when you're in Congress? And also, since we've had a wave of LGBTQI hate and bills across the country, school board, up in the legislature, so on and so forth, and hate crime. And we've had people just in our state the other day, LGBTQIA member of the community killed up across the bridge. What are you going to do to help be an advocate for my community?
Well, first of all, I want to apologize that I did mention the LGBTQIA community when I talked about Asian hate. And we talked about anti-Semitism, because it's part and parcel of the same MAGA Trump, unbelievableness. So one is we have to make sure that we are 1000% inclusive. So make sure my folks and my staff understand that where we are. We are 1000% supportive of the LGBTQ community. Matter of fact, I attended their annual gala up in Anne Arundel. I was their keynote speaker. So, I mean, I'm out there, and as I say, I put in 25 years ago, I put in partner benefits, and we've consistently done all those type of things. I have one of my nieces is trans. We've worked with her and made sure her conversion has been successful. And she had some support because I gave the college she went to, where I happened to go, $10 million for mental health. And I said to them, she's going into a school that's conservative and Baptist in Greenville, South Carolina. And I said to myself, I'm not going to let this happen. So I'm a trustee there. Called the president and said, I want to make a donation. And you're going to make sure your school becomes super duper inclusive. And we're going to have the best mental fitness, not just physical fitness, but mental fitness. So we created the Trone Center for Mental Fitness, and getting 10 mil, and that's what we have now. So we're not building a gym, we're building that, and my niece has struggled in some of those areas, and she needs support like that. And we all need support. I mean, my God, we all need support with anxiety and depression and what's happened in this world. So we've got to stand for it and stand strong. We got to call out every time folks are discriminating, and we just got to shout it to the rooftops. Shout out the rooftops. I've been at the flag goes up. I go to Pride every year in Frederick. I march on all the parades. I have my whole team there. We wear our Pride shirts. My company celebrates it throughout the country, and we just got to be there because we're all here to sing. And how can we allow any type of discrimination? And it's out there, it's everywhere. But if we don't fight it, and we're going to continue to fight it, and one day it'll pass. And people will say, hey, why do we argue about that? Just like, whoever, they didn't think we were ever going to get 2 women could be married or 2 men could be married. Well, now that's common days. Yeah, but we just got to slowly, fast as we can, we got to get there. Yeah, that's a good question. Thank you.
Our last question before we get to closing statements is from Susan. Susan, thank you for waiting so patiently all night.
Thank you. My name is Suzanne Turner.
Oh, Suzanne, I'm sorry.
Love everything that you're saying. I'm guessing that you and Adam Schiff are in a fairly small club, and knowing that the majority of your fellow Congress people do not have the funds that you have, and so they are in the pockets, and then add that to the MAGA craziness, who really are not there to do anything but see how many hits they can get on Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is they're doing. From what I've seen, none of them have done any work of the people since they arrived. So I might be curious to know what are your prospects, given the fact that we have a fairly uneducated population. If Donald Trump is pulling 54%, it does not bode well for our country. So I'd be interested in hearing how you believe that turns around. Because let's be honest, Democrats tend to bring a knife to a gunfight. And if they don't start talking about what Biden has done, and the average person has no idea how many benefits they have had from this administration, because the media doesn't want to talk about that. They want to talk about how much craziness Donald Trump can do, and with every indictment, his popularity has gone up. So I'm interested in your personal opinion on how to turn that bus around.
Well, first of all, I'm scared to death of it. We all should be scared to death.
Right.
I mean, we're close than we'll ever been to losing our democracy across this country. We're a few states, 5, 6 battleground states. If they go the wrong way, 45,000 votes is all we won by in those 3 states combined.
Well, you're in Washington. My question to you is, what I hear is that the majority of those Republicans feel the same way that we do about Donald Trump, but they don't have the you-know-what to stand behind their convictions. And will they?
So I don't think we have many more Lynn Cheneys or Adam Kinzingers there. I mean, Lynn Cheneys or Adam Kinzinger who stood up to Trump, they're not there anymore.
No,
There were
and why
15
would they do it to their family? The good people are leaving.
I completely agree with you. The good people, John Katko and a whole bunch of others that were moderate Republicans, they just said, I don't need this crap. I get primaried by a radical right winger. I lose the primary. My family goes through this, and they moved on. On January, when January 6th, insurrection took place, I was in the Capitol, and that night we all came back and we voted to do a very ministerial job. And I asked Republican colleagues that I've worked with and that have got my mental health bills over the line in addiction, in criminal justice and Pell Grants. And I said, what are you gonna do here? Bad news, just what you thought. 2 things, they all said, I'm gonna vote not to certify the election. And I said, well, how can you possibly do that? And they'll say 2 things. 1, I'm afraid for my family. You nailed it. And 2, you nailed it. I want my job.
Right.
That's really disappointing and disheartening and sad. But that is where we are. He has put so much fear. Back from Biden quickly, Biden has done, I think, the best presidency in the first 2 years since literally Lyndon Baines Johnson.
Yeah.
I mean, those 3 big bills, the Inflation Reduction Act, built back, the Chips and Science Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, then the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the PACT Act for our veterans, all those things have happened in his first 2 years. They are game changers.
And he's never been on Twitter.
And yeah, and it's, so I really am a huge supporter of Joe Biden. I ran on Joe Biden, and I've talked to Joe many times, and he doesn't talk as fast as I talk, but he's working on a full deck, and he has great people around him, and he doesn't walk with the great vigor that we'd like to see. And I wish he was 10 years younger, and so does he, and so do I, and so do you. And but I'm really concerned. I don't see we're not touting the things that we've done to the degree. We're terrible marketers, we're knife fights to a gunfight. I completely agree with you on that. They out-talk us. I remember the famous Karl Rove comment. Karl Rove, Republican strategist who first invented gerrymandering by taking over the states. And then he gerrymandered them to take over the federal level. So Karl Rove's the smartest guy in the room usually. And Karl Rove said, I love running against Republicans or Democrats because Democrats have 2 things in mind. First, they want to get all the policy right. They spend all their time on policy. Then after their policy's out, they think about how they're going to win. He says, we Republicans, we don't worry about the policy. We just want to friggin' win. That's all we do is figure out how to win. After we win, then we'll decide what we're going to do. And it's true. Or not right now. So I don't have a solution except we got to chop what Joe's done. I just can't imagine, I can't see how the American people could be such fools to go this route again. Man, I'm still an optimist, but those states, we can't lose, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Nevada, et cetera. I wish I had a better answer to you. It scares the shit out of me.
By the way, did you ever see Trump at Wharton when you were there?
No, Trump was there. If you don't mind, I like to distinguish myself from there. I'm an MBA, he's an undergraduate. And he only went there 3 years, not as 4, because he went to prep school first, then his daddy wrote $1 million check, and then get in there. I was on the board at Wharton for many, many years, and I used to go back and teach retail strategy to the MBAs. So I would go twice a semester and I teach retail strategy at the University of Pennsylvania. And every time after, I take the professors out for dinner and they all want to come out with me and talk stuff about business and whatnot. And they always talked about Trump, and they clearly had all seen his transcript. And it was just a train wreck. Yeah, total train wreck. But no, it's an embarrassment for the school. School hates to talk about it, think about it, but you got it.
Yeah, Congressman Trone, we can move into closing.
We went to 8:10, we killed it.
Yeah.
Hey, first of all, thanks for coming out, thanks for staying this long, and, obviously we gotta vote, and you all vote, obviously, but you gotta get your friends and neighbors to vote. This election everything's at stake, and, I think our argument simply is, I'm gonna get more done in the Senate than anybody else's. That's my simple argument, and I'm here not for a paycheck, I'm not here for anything. I don't play golf, I don't belong to any country clubs, I just like to friggin' work. I like to get stuff done. That's my life. And I'm in it, personally invested in mental illness. I'm personally invested in addiction. I'm personally invested in criminal justice reform because I've been attacked and I won because I have white privilege and I could hire lawyers and I always won and others don't. So I'm pissed off about all those things. And that's why I do those things. So anyway, thank you for coming out, and we're out of here.
One more month for the door and log off. I do have a quick update from the LSPC side. So we're going to be having a couple more town halls, including the candidates running for Congress in District 1 against Andy Harris. Our endorsement vote will either be in early March or the end of February. I do want to try and push it up. I need to talk to leadership. So surprise leadership, this is me letting you know that conversation's coming. Because our primary did get moved up from June until May. So I definitely want to make sure that we're endorsing early enough to actually have an impact on the ways. If you haven't already, please sign in. So we do actually have a couple of requirements to vote in our endorsement process. The big one is making sure that you've attended 3 meetings. What's the best way to make sure that you've attended 3 meetings? Making sure you've signed in. So when I put it in the attendance, I see that you did it. Luckily, there are 3 meetings between, so if this is your first meeting, there are 3 meetings between now and when we actually vote. So even if tonight's your first ever meeting, you can still qualify. Yeah, I want to thank Congressman Trone, but also I do want to thank a group of people that often don't get thanked a lot. If you're a member of Congressman Trone's team, can you raise your hand real fast? That's the key. Campaign staff runs all over the state, works very long hours. I got my start in careers working campaign staff, so I do want to give a shout out. I know working in politics, especially campaigns, is not.
I started Jimmy Carter. So president, 76.
So
my first campaign.
Yeah. Thank you all so much. Our next meeting is going to be February 1st. With that, have a wonderful evening and stay safe and take food.
3 meetings for each year or all together for LSPC?
Right now it's written all together. So if you've been, you're good. So, but you should still come to the next 2 meetings.
Yeah, of course.
Ryan, can you hit the stop recording button?